Imagine you having a stable job, having a paycheck coming in every single month, and everything is great. And then something happens in the world, you lose your job, you don't have savings, you don't have income, and you don't have family to rely on, and you're about to go homeless. But then you discover a skill where all you have to do is write words in a Google Doc, and 9 months later, you make your first 6 figures a year. That's exactly what happened to me. Could this happen to you? I mean, there's only one way to find out, so let's see. And before we do that, let's go back on time. March 17th, 2020. I was in Boston and I was watching news, and the mayor of Boston, who name I don't even remember, announced that all of the gyms and pretty much every establishment has to be closed, which meant that I could not train my clients, and which also meant that I lost my income. I didn't have anything coming in whatsoever, which meant I was in a panic mode. I needed to figure something out. Didn't have any family because I'm an immigrant from, Eastern Europe, and I also didn't have any savings. As a matter of fact, I had maybe $1,000 in my savings. That was it. So I was terrified and I needed to figure out something really quickly. So I remember the first thing that I did was actually sort of try to create a digital product for people to start losing weight, which was the silliest thing ever. Obviously, didn't get any sales whatsoever. Then I started basically Googling how to make money online. Now, before that, I actually knew about marketing and copywriting simply because I was a personal trainer and I had a studio, and I was kind of sort of thinking about, well, I would need to get more clients. So I probably would need to use copywriting. And so way back when, I purchased a course on copywriting and I never went through it ever. But then I had a lot of time and I started going through the entire course. And then the person who created that course reached out to me, and I don't know if it's the serendipity or whatever. And he asked me, hey, I'm thinking to start this group where I help people like yourself to basically become a copywriter and help you make money online. Would you be interested? And I was like, yes. The question is, how much money does it cost? Well, it cost enough for me to really think about whether or not I wanted to, because remember, I did have credit cards, yes, but I did not have any income coming. And so I had a really long conversation with myself. I was like, well, I'm going to give myself 3 months and I'm going to see what happens. And so basically, I decided to bet on myself. And while everybody was learning how to make sourdough bread, I was learning how to make a different type of dough, right? For 3 months, I would wake up from 5 and I would start practicing. I would watch all of the videos. I would write the emails. I would reach out to people. Pretty much annoyed every single person in my network because I was like, I need fucking money. I need to figure out a way how to make money, right? Now, from that, I was looking for a client right away. And this is the mistake that I see a lot of people make, right? I didn't have proof of my work whatsoever. I was brand new. I didn't even know what I was doing, right? But I did have people to help me sort of guide me. So that was obviously a good thing. But that being said, I also was trying to land the client, not because like I was like, oh, like maybe one day I become a copywriter. It was a fucking need. I needed to get a client or else I would become absolutely homeless. And so I just went straight in. And this is something that I share with all of my students is get your first client as soon as possible, because you're going to get a feedback. You will have an opportunity to write as many emails as you can versus just kind of willy wonka it and being like, oh, maybe today I'll write one, maybe I will not write. Oh, I don't feel like it. No, no, no. When you're getting paid to do something, you're going to get stuff done, right? And that's how you get better. So that's what I did. I finally landed a client who paid me absolute peanuts. I did a lot of things. I wrote a bunch of emails for him. I wrote the sales page, and they paid me total of like $600, where that was sort of our agreement, right? I just asked percentage of the sales, and that was that. But what it helped me is I used those results as a leverage to then land my next client. And this is something that I recommend everybody who's watching do exactly the same thing. You take your first client, whether they pay you or not pay you, it doesn't really matter, but you leverage those results for your next clients. Now, another thing that I did to land the client was actually I invested in somebody else who had this monthly newsletter, and they also had the thing that if you were the paid customer, then they will send an email sharing that, somebody looking for a copywriter. And so that's how I landed one of my clients. They were paying me just $1,000 a month to write a couple of emails here and there. But again, I just went for it. I paid to be there to have an opportunity to have a client. Now, if you can afford to do that, absolutely do it. Highly recommend. But if you cannot, that's totally fine. Other clients that I've landed were from either cold outreach, which I had to master, obviously, but also through the Facebook groups as well. Then what happened was I had 3 clients and I was writing a lot and I was increasingly improving my skill. But I also quickly realized that if I wanted to continuously making money as a copywriter, I had to expand my skill. So I added something that is called email list management, which is not that hard. It's basically segmenting the list, knowing, like who to send the emails or whatnot. But that allowed me to sort of stand out from the pack and I could charge more money and I could land clients because I was doing something differently. So if you're watching this, right, and you're like, oh, there's so many copywriters, figure out a way where you can actually stand out from the pack. I'll give you an example. There was one client, they were looking at somebody else who had exactly the same amount of experience or like years of experience, and they were looking for the email copywriter. And so what I did, I was like, well, listen, like I know you guys don't have time to upload the emails or whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make sure that these emails are going out to the people who want to hear from you. So people who have engaged with the emails in the last 30 days. And I will also upload those emails. So you don't have to worry about anything. All you will be seeing is the money coming into your bank account every single month. And guess what? Just by sort of saying this thing and offering them this service, like it took me like extra 5 minutes to do that, but I got the gig and I worked with the client for an entire year, right? So think about the ways that you can actually differentiate yourself and stand out from the pack so you can land the client. Then what I started doing, I started expanding my network. I started talking to people. The world started to open up. I started going to the masterminds and it was hard because believe it or not, I'm an introvert, but I had to put on the extroverted mask and go out there and start making connections because connections in this business they're not everything, but they're quite a lot, right? Now, keep in mind, and I know some people will be like, oh my God, like making connections, you were going to this, masterminds, whatever. Keep in mind, the first year and a half, we were all kind of stuck, right? It was the demic thingy, right? I don't want to say for whatever reasons, YouTube might do whatever the thing, but we were all stuck. And the best thing that we all could do, and me included, was to actually communicate with people through social media. And that's the beauty. If you're an introvert, you don't have to talk to people face to face. I mean, you can just send the messages, comment on the Facebook post, I don't know, like in LinkedIn or whatever people do, multiple things. There are ways for you to expand your network, even if you're introverted. All you have to do is just like make the first step and then the next step and then the next step and so forth and so on. Then what I started doing was actually started posting on my profile and on Facebook and started posting in different groups. Now, what it allowed me to do is actually put my name out there because I remember the very first mastermind that I went to, I met somebody and we shook the hands and he was like, oh, you the Lana So. And I was like, what do you mean the Lana So? He's like, well, like I've seen you post, I think Facebook friends, whatever. I was like, oh, interesting. That was like my first aha moment when I was like, oh, if I am consistently posting, it then doesn't matter if it's the wins, if it's the lessons or whatever, like the value post, whatnot. If it's maybe a story from my life, like I remember I posted a story how my mom helped me land a client, which again, as a copywriter, you have to sort of, and the marketer, you have to take something almost mundane and turn it into like a story that people want to read. And that story was basically, I was talking to a potential client and he said that his audience are women in their 50s. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, I get it. They're pretty hard and tough sort of audience because my mom was like 50 and she's not techy whatsoever. And I have to like spend a lot of times with her to explain how to do X, Y, Z. He was like, you get it, you understand it, let's work together. That was literally it. But then I took that sort of story and I put it into like a post, right? And people loved it, right? From there, I realized that posting and talking to people and putting myself out there actually helps to build a name. Another thing what I've done, which was not because it was like anything, but I just wanted to make sure that if I saw a gig posted somewhere and I knew that either I wasn't qualified or I didn't want to do it, or maybe because I just couldn't time wise, I would tag somebody that I knew who would be a really good fit. And people really appreciate that, right? This is something I always say, life gives to the giver. The more you give, the more you get. So if you see gigs, tag your people, tag your friends, like you need to create peers and network so that, like you'll give to them, they will give back to you. So, it kind of works sort of together. Now, the really cool thing that happened from me posting and putting myself out there is that it actually led me to speaking to somebody who turned out to be a whale client. They were making 8 figures a year. And from that conversation, then we met up, somebody that sort of knew me. They also said a few really good words. And guess what? I landed that client. It was a very sort of natural conversation. It wasn't like a sales call, nothing. But that was a pivotal point in my career, like 2 years later. Yes, I was making 6 figures at that point. But after I started working with this company, what was the arrangement is that they were paying me a lesser amount of money that they could have, but I could use their name to then in the future, if obviously I deliver a result, which I did, to then, lend my clients and just kind of put it in my portfolio. And so that was a huge and pivotal point where everything that I was doing beforehand kind of led to that thing, right? And so if you slightly afraid and not really sure, like, oh, like I don't want to what post, whatever, start posting. Like obviously you don't have to go and like, this is what I ate for breakfast. But think about Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever as an opportunity for you to practice your skill. You want to get paid to write, you have an opportunity to put your stuff out there, to put your work out there and see the feedback. Why not do that? And then after that, I actually launched my first product, which was the copywriting ebook. By the way, if you want it, you can go to the fulltimefreedomformula.com. It will give you pretty much the entire blueprint that you need to start as a copywriter, start landing your first clients, and basically start on this journey, right? But I created my first product and I started working and doing that. So I was still working with the clients, but I also had this thing, which what we call, like my own offer, which then in the first year made me over $70,000 a year, which was really nice, obviously. But my main source of income has been, writing for clients, and it still is. Now, another thing what I kept doing, which not a lot of people do, is I kept reinvesting some of the money that I was getting paid by clients into improving my skill set, right? I kept joining the masterminds, and because of that, my skill set has improved. Now I have lots and lots of opportunities. So one of those things is what I call, publishing agency, where we work with the creators and we take care of the marketing for them, but we split the revenue, right? And so instead of, let's say, just getting paid $5 to $10 to $20,000 a month, what we're doing is we're building this thing and we're taking the profit of it, right? Which is obviously in the future is going to be way more money. But that's basically the thing. Now, before that happened, the sort of ability to enter different rooms, to pay to be in different rooms, allowed me to then land a client who is one of the top financial influencers in the world with over 20 million followers. And that was basically the catalyst to then a new step, which is, growing this publishing agency that I'm partnering with somebody. And that's basically my journey, right? So yes, I'm not making millions of dollars as a copywriter, as some people claim, although I don't think they actually do that. But I have been making a stable multiple six figures as a copywriter. I was traveling the world, like I've done traveling for the last 4 years. I've lived in 6 countries. I've made lots of friends. And now I have the skill that allows me to basically create something bigger, create my own business and move into that direction without having to start from pretty much zero and making lots of mistakes as a business owner. I actually have a lot of experience working with business owners and learning from their mistakes. And this is what, they say, like the best thing to do is learn from other people's mistakes, not yours. So I hope this video was helpful to you. This is my story. This is how I was able to build a freelancing business, 6-figure business. And I've been at it for the last 5 years, started in March of 2020. And now it is almost March of 2025. I'm not sure when this video is going to come out. And I hope that this video was helpful and more so inspiring, because remember, there's so many business owners just in the United States, like over 600,000 in just the United States. The pie is huge. Okay. Yes, there might be seemingly, a competition. Yes, there's AI, but the thing is, there is not enough really good writers, and you have a potential to become one. And once you are a really good copywriter who can deliver really good results, I can guarantee you will always have clients, because AI has been here for 2 years, but trust me, people still come to me. They still want to work together because I've tried the AI and it's still not that great. So all you have to do is start, put the elbow grease in, and don't quit. And that's it, right? Hope that was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.